Now, I don't ever get to preach this sermon because most people think it's money and everybody gets all tight, Okay, it's really weird to talk about money and dying and lying and all these kind of things. But the reason I wanted to have you hear the context of the story is as Luke was sharing about this was a very powerful illustration and example, real life example of what it meant to be a part of intentional community. He said, look, they shared everything. There was unity. There was generosity, there was, even trusting James and all those other things, that there was healing and other things going on in this amazing thing. And because of this, there was this sacrificial life of giving to one another and being a part of the we of the early church. And it says, remember Joe? Joe was a part of that. And then he says, and remember this couple? Yeah, they decided to sell this thing and then lie about it. And the issue was not the fact that they sold it and only gave half. The issue was that they lied about it, was that they wanted to be a part of the intentional community. They wanted to be a part of the benefits of the church community, but they had a me church mindset. That this is really mine, and I'm going to put a front on, and I'm not really going to give it all, and we're just going to try to kind of, slide one past here. And everybody who would read this, everybody who would see this, would acknowledge that the reality of what just happened in this story was that they lied to Peter. They lied to the apostles. They lied to their community. They did this to them. And yet Peter was very clear, but you actually lied to God. You actually lied to him. You were conspiring against the Spirit of God. Which most of us, we lose it right there. We lose the understanding of why would that be the gravity? Why would that be the weight? That I lied to the church, or I lied to the community, or I wanted to be a part of this thing, but I wasn't going to be all in. I was just going to receive the benefits of being a part of it. Well, because when Matthew recorded Jesus, some of his final words, talking about how the king would respond to those who followed and did what he wanted to do, and he said, when I was naked, you clothed me. And when I was hungry, you fed me. And when I was thirsty, you gave me drink. And when I was sick, you comforted me. And when I was in the hospital or in the prison, you visited me. And they said, well, when did we do that? And Jesus said, when you did it to the least of these, you did it to me. And he went on to talk about the consequences of, when you didn't do it, when you didn't clothe me, when you didn't do this. And they're going to say, when did we not do that? He says, when you didn't do it to the least of these. See, listen, guys, community is not just important because of our role in it and because of what God's doing in us to help us grow spiritually. Community is how God sees us interact with each other, that is a reflection of how we're interacting with Him. I'm just telling you, there's no possible way for you to be on your own, in a bubble, studying, learning, inspired, praying, living it out, trying to figure out how all the things, and just filled with knowledge about what God is doing to yourself, by yourself, and not engaged in intentional community, because at that point, you are a silo alone. And you have nothing, you're not living it out with other people, you're not working out your faith. I'm telling you, your faith, you might have this idea that your faith is growing, that you're growing in knowledge and wisdom. You're not actually growing. Because a body that is fed, that is not exercised, is not a healthy body. Right? A body that is fed and not exercised and not put to use and not doing it is not healthy. Community is required equipment for growth. It's not just the teaching. It's not just the learning. You have to have the intentional community to work it out. And God puts such a weight on how you and I treat one another that how we engage in community with one another, it is a reflection of how you and me treat Him. It wasn't just that little part about feeding the hungry and clothing people wasn't to get us all jacked up on social justice. It wasn't just to get us motivated towards missions. It was to help us understand, like this illustration, that there is accountability to the community that you have, to the way I treat you, to the way you treat me, to whether or not you have a me church perspective or whether I have a we church perspective. It matters. And it doesn't just matter to you and me. He says it matters to Him. How could you lie? You didn't lie to us, you lied to God. How could you conspire Him to lie to Him? That story always just floors me because, in today's context, that would have been uncovered and be like, yeah, it's fine. We're just going to go to the church down the road. They won't know what happened. No, this is an accountability that community brings us back to the sense that it matters how we treat one another, because again, he says they're going to know you're mine, right? They're going to know you're my disciples by how you love one another. Just as I have loved you, so you are to love one another. And that is the measurement by which all of us are held accountable to. The way that God loves us is the way in which we're called to love one another. But